The twisted origin of our group Sorcerer. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. My favorite sessions are when a character's backstory gets some kind of resolution. It makes for some brilliant storytelling and can really bring the party together. Tell us about your character's backstory sessions after listening to this. I've been DMing an ongoing campaign for several years now, and during our last Halloween event, I did something that spooked the players and revealed a large piece of backstory for the Sorcerer. I drew the curtains, keeping the place dark with the exception of a few lit candles for the event. This is not a normal occurrence for our group. The sorcerer in question is Ulysses Queen, ex-smuggler/pirate turned adventurer, when he had to abandon his ship when a dragon attacked. He met up with the party during a mission and revealed that he was a wild magic sorcerer. The party had many adventures with him, including a moment when they had to seal a Lovecraftian being under a mountain to prevent it from escaping into their world. It was made clear to me during character creation that the sorcerer had no idea how he received his arcane abilities, but he knew about them from an early age. Shortly after dealing with this creature under the mountain, the party coincidentally went to the town where Ulysses did his business back when he was a smuggler. After killing an old rival of his, they found a letter on him from an old buyer of his, demanding all the information the rival had about Ulysses' current location. The rival had captured and recruited a number of Ulysses' old crew, and promised rich rewards from the people requesting the information. They decided to follow up and spoke to the merchant in question. He explained that a group of people showed up a short time after Ulysses left, before he joined the party, and had been covertly looking for him ever since. Ulysses asked to be brought to these people, and the merchant agreed to do so after dark, as that was the only time he knew how to get a hold of them. That night, the merchant took the party to the closed-off market building. Imagine an early version of a mall. Heavy rain poured down. The doors opened to allow them entry, and a hooded individual wearing a plain white mask greeted them. On realizing Ulysses had been brought, he produced a bundle of masks like his own and gave one to each party member, asking the merchant to wait outside. He then took them to a secret door that led down under the building and through a long torchlit path that finally led to an underground base of some kind. It was explained that their leader was waiting for Ulysses for some time and that he needed to be made aware of his arrival, so he left the party, giving them free rein to go wherever they wanted, so long as their way was not barred. After wandering around for a bit, the party found a door through which they could hear quiet music. Keep in mind, while they were inside the dungeon, I had been playing echoing sounds of whispers, footsteps, and doors opening and closing the entire time, as well as low, creepy song on loop. But when they entered this room, I turned off all the other sounds and instead switched on a music box song and the sound of a crackling fire. The room was small and sparse, but there was a woman sitting in a rocking chair, rocking a swaddled baby back and forth. She looked up and the players were surprised to see an older, weathered face instead of another mask. She asked if the players were the doctors, as her baby is sick again. When the cleric looked at the child had a small mask on as well. The cleric could feel no pulse, and when attempting a cure wounds spell on the child, it had no effect. One of the other sneakier members asked the sorcerer to distract her as he peeked under the child's mask to reveal a wooden doll. When the woman turned to look at him, he quickly put the mask back in place, claiming that it was a fine-looking child. The woman responded by tickling the child's chest, saying, "You hear that, little Ulysses? They think you're cute." It was at this point that everyone looked at Ulysses' player, who sat stock still. After talking with the woman some more, attempting to reassure the clearly deranged woman that her baby was going to be fine, another masked man entered, with finer robes, and requested that they all leave her alone, as too much stress is bad for her. He then begins to get a little too over-familiar with Ulysses, attempting to hug him and telling him that it's so good that he's finally here. Their leader was getting ready, so he and his friends could still wander around, and he would come to collect them when the time was right. They found a library and did some research about the cult they were now entangled with, only to find that the cult was formed many years ago to make contact with an elder god. By accepting him as their patron, they gained power and knowledge in exchange for making sure his will was done. Some big event happened a little over 20 years ago, but was immediately countered by some great disaster when something was taken from them. It was at this point that the man came to fetch them. At last, their leader was ready to receive Ulysses and his friends. The party was brought to a large room, near the back of which was a tall stone throne. A hulking hooded man sat in it. The only features of his face they could see were two yellow eyes that seemed to glow from within. To his right, the masked man walked in and stood motionless. Chanting drew the party's attention to the tiered balconies lining the vaulted walls. These balconies were filled with robed and masked cultists, chanting in unison. The figure on the throne welcomed them and addressed Ulysses as Ulysses Lacroft. The party recognized the name Lacroft as one of the founding members of the cult. Ulysses corrected them, saying his name was Ulysses Queen, so the leader prompted the man who fetched them to tell Ulysses the truth of his birth. The masked man stepped forward and spoke in a loud, clear voice.
Some time ago in Declan, a group of people, seemingly random individuals, came together anonymously to discuss the existence of new gods. Little did they know, the gods that they discussed were far older than they could have imagined. All praise the elders, unnamed and unknown. It seemed that the same being contacted them all and brought them together to serve a purpose. His purpose. A great purpose. And in exchange for their help, he offered them true, unbiased knowledge. The knowledge of the universe. He continued, Praise be to he who knows all. For several generations, these people, the Brotherhood of the Woken Mind, met in secret to hear and enact his desires, until one day, when he asked a boon of us. His blessings upon us, his will be done. He needed a portion of his power to be anchored to this world. In order to do so, he needed a mortal form that was both of this world and of his. To us, he imparted a right. Once performed, we would become caretakers of his power until his needs required it. Bequeathed upon us his power and his lore. My daughter was proud to be our offering, and on an important night 25 years ago, we performed the Right of Insemination. The offering made, the rite performed. On that night, the Immaculate One, all-knowing Yog-Sothoth, impregnated my daughter Patricia. All praise Yog-Sothoth, the gate and the key. It only took 3 months. My daughter gave birth to a child. A child she named Ulysses. All rejoice, the blessed child returns. You were stolen from us, an act of treachery, stolen and taken far away. The hooded man on the throne shouted. Can you imagine, not 2 days old, and some traitor had the gall to tear you away from your own mother? I truly believe that her encounter with the Immaculate One unhinged her, but your being taken, that broke her. We've been searching for you for some time. Finally, we were granted help from beyond. But none of that matters now, for finally you have returned to us, my grandson, Ulysses. All rejoice! The blessed child returns! And so Ulysses discovered the source of his magical powers, and the players now understood why it could sometimes create rather random effects. But this story doesn't end here. The party was given a chance to accompany Ulysses to meet his father, for his father has been looking for him for some time. They all agreed to this, which I did not expect, but before anything could be done, 2 cultists jumped down from the balconies. One pulled a sword and yelled for Ulysses to run, while the other floated down and nonchalantly removed his mask, revealing a tentacled face. The Mind Flayer Cathar, a recurring villain the party's yet to kill. He declared the cult's treason at an end and ordered the leader to join him, so that he may undergo ceremorphosis. The leader exclaimed, I will not be restrained! A sudden third eye, bigger than the others, opened in the middle of his face. The head detached from the leader's body and floated out of the hood and enlarged, displaying a mouth of sharp teeth and several tentacles on his head, each ending in another burning yellow eye. The Gwath engaged the Illithid, and initiative was rolled. Over the course of the battle, many of the cultists from above joined in by brandishing crossbows, daggers, and flooded the room from the balconies. The masked individual that told Ulysses to run began fighting them off. The party engaged with both the Mind Flayer and the Gwath. All hell broke loose. The Mind Flayer dominated the paladin. The cleric banished the Mind Flayer. Ulysses flew up to the ceiling and began to blast attacks down on the cultists, but was afraid to use his fireball because he didn't want to catch the other players in it. There were 4 black orbs hanging from the ceiling the entire time, and the patterns of color they were emitting began to pulse more violently once the battle started. The players had to make saves against rotating effects from the orbs at the top of the round, one of which caused Ulysses to plummet down to the ground. At this point, the Gwath exclaimed, if he will not join us, he must be destroyed. So a group of cultists charged his prone and stunned form. The first one to reach him bore no mask. She hurled herself on top of him,
intercepting half a dozen stab wounds and a multitude of crossbow bolts meant for Ulysses. As he came to on his turn, he looked at the pale, worn face of the deranged woman from before. After what he had learned in the library and what the masked man had said, she could only be one person. "Why?" he choked out. Blood leaking from her lips, she smiled and stroked his cheek. "A mother knows her son." She died on top of him. The sorcerer flew up through the crowd once more, carrying her body. Enraged, he dropped a fireball down on the cultist below. At last, the paladin and warlock defeated the Gwath on the same turn, and I finally realized the mind flayer had Dimension Door. He returned from his banishment, and seeing the group had killed his target, blasted them with a psychic attack that stunned most of the players and killed a few of the remaining cultists. He then grabbed his partner, revealed to be the party's lost friend. A player had been killed by an intellect devourer in a previous dungeon, and stepped back through the door, leaving the combat. I know he should not have been able to do this all in one turn. However, if I had realized he was capable of returning sooner, he would have been a presence during more of the fight, so I didn't see any harm in giving him one big round to return, get angry, do a thing, and leave. Seeing their leader fall, the masked man who got too familiar with Ulysses earlier, revealed to be his grandfather, made eye contact with Ulysses, who again was floating in the air, holding the body of the man's daughter, and Dimension Doored away. All that was left was to clean out the remaining cultists, and the body of the leader, which was revealed to be an eldritch construct that was putting out some serious hurt. Then they left the Brotherhood of the Woken Mind behind to bury Patricia LaCroft. It was one of our best sessions yet, and they're still saying so. Closure can be so painful. To learn the truth of the past, and to be reunited if just for a moment to lose it again, that's pretty rough. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our next video will be posted in 3 days, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.